And good afternoon, and welcome to the January 13th, 2017 edition of the Daily Matrix with Alex Ansary. Glad you can join me. Couple updates. My generator has died here on the off-grid property, and that's going to be affecting the amount of uploads. It's taking me back. It does take us back a few hundred years, that's for sure, into a more off-grid situation than prior to where the machine was working for me. But right now I'm using solar. Okay, I have batteries, I have an inverter, so I'm able to actually do a little bit and get my other stuff done online. So I'm actually having to ration the amount of energy that I'm using. Right now it's not snowing, but it's probably going to start snowing at any time. So this is also a good test of how much power I can get when the sky is as gray as it is right now. I'm certainly living through the dark ages, both literally and metaphorically. So with that, and this might be an abbreviated newscast, we'll see, but there's certainly a lot I prepared. We got over 20 headlines on the docket. Defense nominee warns of Kremlin attempts to break NATO. This is from the Washington Post. So I've already said that you're going to see a shift in relations between Trump and Russia. It's going to take some people by surprise that aren't going to see what's coming. They aren't in the awareness, or seeking to be of an awareness, to where they see the staging behind things. Many people are playing a fool, and they will continue to play a fool. They will continue to insist everything is okay, this isn't a show, this isn't going to turn out sour. I'm here to bring up the headlines that are challenging these official narratives, that everything is okay. His name is retired General James Mattis, and he is Trump's pick to be the next U.S. Defense Secretary. And he has placed Russia among principal threats facing the United States, arguing for greater support for European allies to counter what he said were Moscow's attempts to break the North Atlantic Alliance. And by the way, guess what movie series I'm watching in my free time? I am watching the America miniseries. You can find that on YouTube. It's in 13 parts. Might want to check it out. It's very entertaining. A lot of people have their own understanding of how the New World Order is going to work itself out. A lot of people are very relaxed nowadays about a U.S.-Russian partnership in the Middle East without seeing the bigger picture. We have another one here, also very significant. Trump's CIA pick, Mike Pompeo, backs intelligence report on Russian hacking. Let me read that again. Trump's CIA pick backs the intelligence report, the intel report on Russian hacking. NBC News. Mike Pompeo on Thursday sought to quell concerns his judgment as CIA director would be colored by partisan motivations, telling members of the Senate Select Committee on Intelligence that he agreed with the intelligence community's assessment that Russia had interfered in the U.S. election. Speaking of the current skepticism circulating around the legitimacy of the election results, Pompeo told the committee that he had no doubt that the discourse that's been taking place is something that Putin would look at and say, that was among the objectives that I have, end quote. Earlier in the hearing, Pompeo said he believed a recent report from the intelligence community concluding that Russia tried to help Russian President-elect Trump by discrediting Hillary. He says that this is all sound. If confirmed as CIA director, he says, I will continue to pursue foreign intelligence with vigor, no matter where the facts lead. You can already hear the people make an excuse. Well, Trump didn't do that. His CIA director did it. Yeah, but Trump picked him. Well, he had to bring on some establishment people. All different variants, flavors, and colors of excuses. We will hear them. Meanwhile, reports like this, Trump's CIA pick backs the intelligence report on Russian hacking. That is another sign that there is some sort of a conflict with Russia being planned. That in addition to the last headline, and that is again, defense nominee warns of Kremlin attempts to break NATO, placing Russia among the main threats that the U.S. faces. That is Trump's defense secretary. Let's cover some more headlines. Trump calls CNN fake news. So we've talked about the programming. Get him out of here. Get him out of here. You know, there's this whole brainwashing element to this whole circus. Entertaining to some, terrifying to others, and for some, both entertaining and terrifying. President-elect Trump on Wednesday would not let a reporter from CNN ask him a question during a press conference, saying that he worked for a fake news company. And we're to believe that this isn't staged as well. Maybe even with a CNN journalist. Maybe not. But certainly in the mind of Trump. You know, play up this war with the media. But later the media get behind some of the same lies. But really, being that the whole game plan has been to destroy the United States, really, has Obama done the ultimate job at doing that? Or could Trump pick up the baton as he receives the baton and continue running with it in a whole new direction? Very, very interesting stuff. We'll go over here and cover this. Trump accuses U.S. spy agencies of Nazi tactics from Reuters. Even though we see Donald Trump openly in plain sight appointing establishment neocon Republicans that want a war with Russia, that are terrified of Muslims, that want to see the defense budget continue to balloon and explode. And it's all being done in plain sight, this type of deception. Meaning people don't really have an excuse for remaining in ignorance, making this whole experiment, if that's what it is, all very interesting. As other forces of power watch down, perhaps, of the known and unknown realms, and ask themselves, are the people going to see this? Are the people going to wake up? Or are they literally going to let this man take them to the place of unthinkable, unspeakable? From Reuters, Trump escalated a fight with U.S. spy agencies on Wednesday, 9 days before he takes over their command as president, and he has accused them of practices reminiscent of Nazi Germany. Well, that's interesting, because a lot of people out there that would not want to be considered or called Nazis. Even some people that are saying things that could be identified to be white supremacists. We're saying that one group is better than another. There's no greater insult to some of the people of today's day and age to be called a Nazi. But you know what? If Trump feels like using it at random people, the spy agency, only to turn around and have that spy agency assist him as he plays both sides, as we see this idiocracy, mental illness America continue to scream for its drugs, continue to scream for its alcohol, for its pot, for another numbing. What are you trying to get numb from? What the fuck? Oh, I got an idea. In fact, I have more than a few ideas. The Republicans said leaks from the intelligence community led to some U.S. media outlets reporting unsubstantiated claims that he was caught in an uncompromising position in Russia. He says, quote, "I think it was disgraceful that the intelligence agencies allowed any information that turned out to be so fake and so fake out. I think it's a disgrace." And I say that's something that Nazi Germany would have done and did do. That is what Trump told a news conference in New York. For the first time, Trump has acknowledged also that Russia likely hacked the DNC and the emails of the other Democrats during the 2016 presidential election. What the hell? That's something I've actually been bringing to this newscast. What the hell? There's a number of different moves. We'll talk about China going down the Taiwan Strait in just a moment. I'll go over that statement again. For the first time, Trump acknowledged that Russia likely hacked the DNC and the emails of the other top Democrats during the 2012 presidential election. So it's obviously a big development. It's something that almost leaves me speechless. Must I say any more? I'm just going to narrate and report. Here we are. I'm Alex Ansary. It is the state of January 13th, 2017. This is where we're at. He said other countries were also hacking the U.S. and defending his goal of better ties with Russian President Vladimir Putin. Trump called a dowser that made claims about him in Russia fake news and phony stuff. Trump's comments are likely to intensify tensions between U.S. intelligence agencies and the president-elect, who initially disparaged their conclusion that a Russian government hacking campaign was aimed at boosting his candidacy against Hillary Clinton. But when you look at all the reports together, right, we're not looking at just one report or two reports. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm bringing you about 20 different reports, and the links will be down below. Keep in mind that I post the news and syndicate the news at amtvmedia.com under the news section, which is a section that I contribute to. So the initial source is listed at the top. It's always a legitimate source. So we have things like Reuters, Huffington Post, Washington Post, and even if you don't like some of these publications, NBC News, these are legitimate news sources. These are real headlines. These things are really taking place. And there really are alternative media websites that actually will fabricate news sites. It's not all one side or the other. Oh, all the mainstream media is lies and all the alternative media is truth. That's not how things work. That really isn't how things work. Let me just report on this now, and then we'll go back to the last report. China has sent an aircraft carrier into the Taiwan Strait, from the New York Times. And as a result, Taiwan has scrambled F-16 fighter jets and has dispatched other vehicles to the Taiwan Strait on Wednesday after China sent its aircraft carrier into the waterway. The aircraft carrier came amid rising tensions between Taiwan and China after Trump broke decades of protocol by speaking on the phone with Taiwan's president. And this is taking place after a long-standing tradition of it not happening. It's not an accident that it's happening. And is it really helping the situation? Aren't there other things going on? So what is this thing going on with Taiwan? An excuse to go to war? The powder keg? This is smoking at the gas station, while you pump your gas. This is what this is. This is running with the scissors. This is mixing the oil and the water. This is a recipe for disaster. So I want to make sure that you are up to date. Okay, let's go back. Trump insists Mexico will pay for a border wall, but he wants to have it built first before they pay for it, meaning who's going to pay for it. But as I'll bring up each time this comes up, what is the real purpose going to be for the wall in light of the direction that America is going? American Gulag. Again, check out America the miniseries. Wow, why would they want to have a wall to keep us in? This is really about keeping them out? Well, I mean, there are ways, and people have noted this, how they can enforce the rules that are already on the books. That's what you do. When that's not being done according to many people. So building a wall is not necessarily going to be a good thing for the people that live in this country in the future. So this is what he says, and in his first press conference since the election, he acknowledged that the U.S. government will actually foot the bill, but he claims that Mexico will pay the U.S. back, and he predicted he probably will negotiate a deal with Mexico within a year and a half. So we have covered that, along with everything else. It just gets stranger and stranger and stranger now. According to The Hill, Trump wasn't briefed on Russia allegations. President-elect Trump was never briefed on the allegations that Russian intelligence services have collected compromising information on him, according to NBC News and Trump's transition team. What is this all about? Is there something that's going to come out in this theater of war that is going to turn Trump against Russia? Hey, I thought we were friends, man. Oh, you're going to hack me too? Well, I got my finger on this button over here. Get a little bit of George Bush style. But, we don't need him to be George Bush style because Trump has his own style. And that style, my friends, is Chucky. Chucky's back. and with a vengeance. And he's in the White House. And he masturbates over the red button. Officials preparing a 2-page summary of unverified reports that have been circulating Capitol Hill for months in advance of their Friday meeting with Trump. An intelligence official told NBC, but never discussed it with him. Never discussed it with him. The briefing was shared with Trump. Verbally, the report said, and no documents were left with the president-elect. Trump has slammed the allegations in the document as fake news. Asked about a report from CNN that officials did, in fact, brief the president on the allegations in the document. His senior advisor on Tuesday told Late Night with Seth Meyers that Trump said he was not aware of that. Okay, so is this going to build into a greater wedge between Russia and Trump? Moving along, this report from AOL News, North Korea sends message to Trump amid threat to fire missile at any time. North Korea declared on Sunday can test launch an ICBM at any time from any location, set by leader Kim Jong-un, saying a hostile U.S. policy was to blame for its arms development. Kim said on January 1st that his nuclear-capable country was close to testing a ICBM. Ash Carter, Defense Secretary, said North Korea's nuclear weapons capabilities and ballistic programs constitute a serious threat to the U.S., and that it was prepared to shoot down a North Korean missile launch or test. The U.S. said on January 5th North Korea demonstrated a qualitative improvement in its nuclear and missile capabilities after an unprecedented level of tests last year. North Korea has been testing rocket engines and heat shields for an ICBM while developing the technology to guide a missile after re-entry into the atmosphere, following a liftoff, according to experts. While Pyongyang is close to a test, it's likely to take some years to perfect the weapon. How much of this is going to be in line for the wars after 2020? Much of it. So, we have Ted Cruz entering the picture. It seemed like Ted Cruz, again, more reverse psychology. I bring up this term a lot, reverse psychology. It seems like they hated Trump, but they didn't. There wasn't really a battle between Ted Cruz and Donald Trump. Oh, you have battles and then you work together later on. Come on, Rick Perry. Many others. Taiwan's president meets with Ted Cruz in the U.S. Ted Cruz flew off to visit leaders in Latin America, seeking to promote her island's causes, Taiwan's cause, and get positive signals from Donald Trump. The meeting on Sunday with Mr. Cruz, who lost to Trump in the Republican presidential primary contest, suggested that the president of Taiwan was looking to expand her ties to the Republican Party as it takes control of the White House and keeps its grip on Congress. Cruz said, quote, "I was honored to meet with the president. We discussed our mutual opportunity to upgrade the stature of our bilateral relations in a wide-ranging discussion that addressed arms sales, economic relations, and diplomatic exchanges." Pretty broad. Mr. Cruz said that members of Congress in the Houston area had received a curious letter from the Chinese consulate requesting that they not meet with Miss, and to announce her name, but spelled Tsai, the president of Taiwan. So her stop in Houston preceded visits to El Salvador, Guatemala, Honduras, Nicaragua, 4 of the 20 countries, along with the Vatican, that maintain diplomatic relations with Taiwan rather than China. Looks like this is really being built up to be some drama. Like, don't you talk, now it's time to, It's like more of this theater war coming in another part of the planet, or centering around Taiwan. We have North Korea over here. We have the South China Sea and the war game drills that Chinese military is involved in, militarizing islands. Others saying, don't you that, don't you cross our line. Well, they're going to do it. What are you going to do? Nothing. You owe them money, right? And then, of course, they pay for the wars. It's a whole bad situation that was set up long ago.
for China by design, by real world order, by the real power elite that has already transcended the idea of nation state. They've been behind China for some time. That's why I've talked about it for many, many years. That's why these broadcasts continue. That's why even a day like today, I'm a little bit more relaxed. A little bit of a hoarse voice. It's winter, not a whole lot of sunlight, but it's like this is going to document that we were here at this time before Trump came into the White House. It could be argued that he's walking into a big situation, and our nation is even deeper into debt at $20 trillion in debt. So it's an even more serious situation than when Obama came in when Bush was the president. A lot of people aren't able to see that in their blind love for their leader, for their new leader. And just because, I mean, there's ways to feel about yourself. And I can see how the influence of Bush, Obama, as well as has led to people feeling that they really won't like their president again. This is bullshit. You know, why don't we have someone decent that we like in? And that's why people like Donald Trump actually rise to popularity. It's not his desire to heal from having a president you didn't like. Well, tough shit. That's what comes from being ruled. And you're being ruled from forces you don't even understand in many cases. As people are just simply fronts to absorb hate, absorb fear, absorb the anger. The United States article does not maintain official diplomatic relations with Taiwan as a result of prior negotiations with China, with Beijing, that led to Washington's recognition of the People's Republic of China in 1979 under the China policy, which underpins relations between China and the U.S. Washington acknowledges that Beijing claims Taiwan while pledging to defend Taiwan from attack. The Communist Party of China has vowed to retake Taiwan, a democracy, by force if necessary. China has warned Mr. Trump would warn you against making changes to the One China policy after he takes office on January 20th. The One China policy, very reminiscent of the One Child policy, but really that's not our focus these days. It's the One China policy. Got a situation that we've seen build. Fox News usually gets all over stories like this. They're like the first. We're the first to exploit this story and make it seem something more than what it was. But the U.S. Navy destroyer fires warning shots at Iranian vessels. As we're seeing more stories, this is like an annual event. In fact, this could be happening for every month that I know, but it seems like it's certainly been escalating the last couple of years. A U.S. Navy destroyer fired 3 warning shots at 4 Iranian vessels after they closed in at high rates. After they closed in at a high rate of speed near the Strait of Hormuz. The incident, which occurred Sunday and was first reported by Reuters, comes as U.S. President-elect Trump prepares to take office on January 20th. So that's about a week away. In September, Trump vowed that any Iranian vessels that harassed the U.S. Navy in the Gulf would be, quote, shot out of the water. Yes, he also had a similar statement regarding Russian jets. That's right, the man that's believed to be the right-hand man of Vladimir Putin. They've built up this artificial conspiracy, if you will, and what really is going to happen is something far different. And even when we go to war, people will still not get this whole thing is staged for the people to kill each other. Man and woman against man and woman across the world or across the sea. Sometimes those other men and women won't look like you. Sometimes they will. There's also a link that someone left in a previous video that I discussed China. And I would encourage you to check out that link. A woman with a British accent. And the reason I find that significant, it seems like there's more awake UK viewers in some cases than Americans. I'm not saying you're not awake if you're an American. You're one of the few Americans that gets it. American females, American males, if you're listening to broadcasts like this. Keep things in proper perspective. I notice, though, it's easier for some people outside the United States to really give up. No, what? Now, wait a minute. And maybe they don't have the same peer pressure group around them saying, don't question that. You are not allowed to question that. Otherwise, you're a libtard. A lot of people just crack under the peer pressure. And a lot of people really do have this like almost tick. They need to love their leader. Well, some people don't. And sometimes it takes a non-American to really see this. Well, this British woman or woman that sounds like she was raised in the UK gives a breakdown of the Donald Trump deception in 20 minutes, covering a lot of the stuff that I'm talking about. Not everything that I talk about, but also bringing up some other stuff, like the Donald Trump, Trump card. It's the Jesuit Trump card. I decided not to have coffee today, folks. I'm a little bit more relaxed than normal, but maybe that makes for a better broadcast in other ways. Trump and the draft. The draft and Trump. Donald Trump and the draft. Trump warning of bringing back the draft. In a day and age to talk about more women being sent to the front lines. So, yeah, something's coming with that and the draft. And here we have the predictive programming from Trump. Maybe we need a draft. And she's discussing this. So I have now brought that to your attention. Ford says Trump may be good for the auto industry. Washington Post. Ford executives say Monday night that Trump's presidency could bode well for America's automobile industry, even if it means companies find a new normal that accounts for his erratic tweets. Trump's Twitter account has stoked anxiety among some automakers gathering for the annual North American International. See, there's a lot of this North American stuff coming back. You might be hearing more stuff regarding North American Union or the events that are taking place now leading to a breakup of the U.S. and a North American Union. About a third reference in the same radio cast for America, the miniseries. This is my second time watching it. I'm on part 4. Stargate miniseries also has a fair amount of truth in it too, but it's more like what they want you to believe. Also very interesting. When I was able to get to town to get some supplies, for those that know that I'm pretty much snowed in, living on a hill in southwest Colorado without a whole lot of contact with the outside world, this was all by design. It's not a conspiracy theory. It's a success story. Going from being on the road and going from place to place to making payments on my own land and doing these podcasts from a safe distance. You know, just because I'm in a safe distance, if you will, doesn't mean that I'm immune to certain things. This is really my calling to talk about these things. And as I've warned about World War III being staged, as I see these developments, as I called Donald Trump as a selection 3 months before it happened, and I've also said, hey, things are going to start nice with him and Trump, him and Russia, Donald Trump and Vladimir Putin. It's part of that show. It's a part of that show. And it's also going to be part of the show with their enemies once it gets to that level. See, a lot of people are even looking at this from this perspective. And I know it sounds crazy, but I have been sharing this perspective for a number of years. This is nothing new. I said the same thing about Obama 8 years ago. Oh yeah, those are really close friends, Barack Obama and George Bush. They're not enemies. People are like, oh, you're crazy, man. You're hating Obama because he's black. And came up with all kinds of things. They'll say, oh, you're a libtard. That's why you don't support Trump. It's like the same type of psychology now. And it's sad but true, like the Metallica song says. Okay, so Trump and the whole romance, honeymoon, the hangover hasn't arrived yet. It's going to be some real living in America kind of stuff. Spin here, make people feel good, bright lights, casino reality, Donald Trump's in charge. Boom. Here's an announcement about Amazon. They're going to have like 100,000 jobs. Like, it's not that difficult to manufacture corporate jobs. It really, really isn't. In fact, I think it would be easier for them to create a prosperous nation. It seems like it's like they got to work hard to keep us poor. You got to work to outsource those jobs. So, honestly, that's a big part of the truth that I'm seeing. They can bring someone up. Oh, look, they created these jobs for these corporations and these privatized part of the government. So maybe we're going to see bigger government, Barack Obama, more government jobs, and then we see the private sector of aspects of the corporate world with Donald Trump's crony friends. And so there's a lot of focus on Ford, and then there's a lot of stuff going on with Donald Trump, remember, and Elon Musk, and the space program, and maybe technologies you know nothing about, and ways in which They may want to introduce some of these technologies, self-driving cars and other things. We have reports about these flying cars in Israel, and we see the Israeli Trump connection. So Trump is no stranger to technology. Not demonizing technology. Technology has its pluses and minuses. It's all a matter of how you use it and whether it's used also to surveil people and put people into a trance when they're around certain technologies. Now, what kind of effect can some of these cars of the future have on the riders? Well, time will tell, but you could say the world of science fiction has kind of prepped us for this type of reality. Well, that's what I think we're going to see. We're going to see some interesting things. We're going to see some interesting cars. Maybe Donald Trump's going to make people feel like they're in the 60s again. I feel something significant about this whole Ford thing. Ford and Trump, they're going to make something. It's going to be like some bling bling. It's going to be like, it's going to put Trump maybe in the category of, I don't know what to compare him to, maybe even Ford himself. Something big that was like, wow, rebuilding the backbone of a dismantled American infrastructure. But yeah, it'll be done with borrowed money, and in the end there'll be a cost for the money and where it actually goes and whether or not it's a success or, as I say, a lemon, including the quality of the car. So what if all these cars get built and it's like, recall, recall, recall? I'm just throwing out different scenarios to you that I think are actually pretty gosh darn plausible. So let's go and read the report from the Washington Post. Ford executives said Monday night that Trump's presidency could bode well for American automobile industry, even if it means companies must find a new normal that accounts for his erratic tweets. Okay, Trump's Twitter account has stoked anxiety among some automakers gathering for the North American International Auto Show in recent days. Blah, blah, blah. Let's get to the meat of it. So, Trump has taken credit for recent plans that Ford and Fiat Chrysler announced to expand manufacturing in the U.S. Both companies said their plans were not the result of pressure from Trump. In turn, auto companies expect to see tax and regulatory reforms and other changes under a new president. There is plenty Trump and the auto industry seem to agree on. He has called for lowering corporate taxes, rolling back regulations, and investing heavily in infrastructure, actions that automakers would see as a boon for their businesses. Trump's message of bolstering manufacturing in the U.S. Is also something the industry can support. So time will tell what will happen with the auto industry. I just kind of gave you my projection that a bunch of money will be spent, kind of like a bailout. You know, like, well, Barack Obama did this. We're going to go over here and actually do something with it. Be like, yeah, woohoo! It'll be like borrowed money and we'll borrow time. And we'll see the results of that. Numerous mentions I've made to the predictive programming for major disasters. Another near miss from the Christian Science Monitor. Is Earth ready for an incoming asteroid? Just because there's more warnings, though, doesn't necessarily mean it's propaganda or predictive programming. When the Earth's weakly emitted field gets thinner, more things can get through, especially with a more active solar cycle, or even when the solar cycle is fairly quiet. And we're going to be going into a quiet in 2017. We're already in. This is the year of the solar minimum, and this will continue for the next few years. I talk about solar cycles, by the way, and their effect on our thoughts as a regular topic on the show. And there's actually a plus to the solar minimum. There's something almost chaotic about the solar maximum, though energy is energy. So we are going to the solar minimum, and I suggest that people use the next few years very wisely. I've seen links between myself and us going to the solar minimum and being able to focus enough in order to be able to create more media. As I look at where I was in 2004 and 5 and 6 and 7. And that's the part of the cycle in which we're going back into 2017, 18, 19, 2020. But that period on, 2020, 2021 period on, I think will be so chaotic that we will see this conflict with China staged by the real elite. Of course, China, Russia versus the U.S. and that it could go as far as our country being invaded and attacked. This whole fake Islamic invasion was a way to cry wolf and create stress in the population themselves, in their hearts. The cry wolf scenario, the power of the cry wolf propaganda is powerful in ways most people do not contemplate. But you cannot just sit there and cry invasion over and over and over again. That's why you also see the fake news about China and Russia on the web. China about to invade California. China, secret military base, California now. There's fake news about a fake Chinese invasion. So by the time this stuff really comes to fruition, it'll be so polluted by all this fake news on the web, most people won't even know where to start logging and tracking where the real Chinese bases actually are, and Russian. There'll be so many fake ones from Steve Quell and Dave Hodges, they won't know where to begin to find the truth. All I can say to my listeners is that I will do my best to give you the truth. And that means not going and covering fake news just to cover fake news to make the broadcast more interesting. Everything that's being reported now is a fact. You may not agree with certain things that NASA says, or you may not agree with certain understandings, but statements are statements and they're being documented, and there is such a thing as real reporting, even if you disagree with the people being reported on and their statements being reported on, things of that nature. So let's cover this. The Obama legacy, dropping 26,000 bombs, 26,171 bombs in 2016, which really makes me sick. The people that voted for Obama thinks he's a peace candidate because it's very sad that there are people that get unnerved when the topic of racism comes up. But how is it not racist if someone doesn't count the bodies because of the bodies counted? And this is something that I said about Obama supporters since the beginning. This is something that I would think of, or that I really think of in my mind, that Obama supporters and Sanders supporters, any supporters really that support Middle East genocide or Middle East occupation, that don't personally care about counting the bodies, that there's something inside their programming, something inside their psychology, either subconscious or conscious, to where they see those human beings as subhumans, not worthy of counting. And that is a great sin against the Creator. That is a great sin against ourselves. Great harm comes to those that associate themselves with a system of violence and destruction that does not count, remember, or have remorse for those bodies, for those human beings that women brought into the world. For each body, it takes 9 months in a human gestation period to bring that body through the stargate of the female womb that is this reality. So there are a great many people sinning against God's creation in our country. And what happens when that reaches epidemic levels? Major things start moving. And it may take time. And civilizations may go a long time, more countries, bringing harm to others. We see that the United States almost seems to have a mass of negative karma waiting to be released in and of itself. Even though some people are opposed the idea of the country having negative karmic consequences coming to it. It could also be said that they've already been delivered in some way, shape, or form, through the social ills, through the evils, through the demons that fly in the night, that possess aspects of this society as people seek to understand why they read about face-eating attacks or things of that nature, things of the supernatural, as they find their children talking to entities like Slender Man or others, a very same nation, by the way, that reportedly went through a alien abduction epidemic in the late 70s, 1980s. There's actually a book called Embracing the Shadow. It actually almost comes from a New Age disinformation place, because she associates the MyLab or government projects with the evil, but the aliens almost with the good. just simply getting or gathering genetic material from their star children or those that they seeded. And I'm concerned that there may be some disinformation there that some people are still not waking up to in their Stockholm Syndrome with regards to what happened to them. And with regards to what is still happening to them now with their potential accordings to the Archons. But that's another channel. That's another video. And if you haven't heard my video on the New Age fake news that the Archons have been blasted off planet by the EMP wave technology by the benevolent Archons, check out that video as well, that podcast on this channel. We're going to cover some more news, and we will be on our way. All very interesting. And I've been taking this time. Again, we talk about, is Earth ready for an incoming asteroid? Let's go ahead basically and review what we discussed. Ford says Donald Trump may be good for the auto industry. Will there be a bailout, I asked. Some type of spending of a lot of money and then a lemon being created. U.S. Navy destroyer fires warning shots at Iranian vessels. We see Ted Cruz meeting with the president of Taiwan on cue, preparations for war, and the Chinese aircraft carrier. Also coming at a time where North Korea warns Trump, and Trump says won't happen with regards to North Korea's test. We have China bringing out its aircraft carrier and sailing it up and down the Taiwan Strait. It was docked, and then they brought it right back out. It's like, okay, check it out. Oh, you thought we were just hanging? No, the drill's still going on. So this is like an extended drill on China's part. It docks, then it comes back out. Then Taiwan scrambles their fighter jets. Japan is scrambling their fighter jets. South Korea is scrambling their fighter jets. All in response to the moves of China. By the way, Facebook launches journalism project to curb fake news. Also to be reported, 3,000 U.S. troops arrive on Russia's doorstep. That is from the Daily Caller. We have Europe calling for a mandatory kill switch on robots. And this comes at a time, as I reported recently, that the United Nations is seeking to prepare to defend against these killer robots. And a lot of people are going, well, United Nations, you can't really trust them. Like, how can you stop the killer robots? And aren't you guys the establishment anyways? So it's almost as if they're trying to cover up premeditatively something that's going to happen later and act like they were trying to fight it. That's just me. Senate, they were up late eating pizzas, pictures of the people bringing pizzas, their student aides, and their Senate approves first step towards repealing Obamacare in late night session. I see some people are mad at Trump now that weren't mad at Trump. They're like, Trump, you motherfucker. It's like these people don't seem to care that there's millions of dead bodies that Trump don't care about. Oh, they care about damn their health care. Well, you know what? I wouldn't mind the best health care that technology can bring. Right now, it's all invested in the creator. Don't want to sound too religious or anything, but I've been going my long time without official dental or health care, and have in fact had to spend quite a few dollars, thousands of dollars, to have some very important dental work done 10 years ago because I didn't have quote-unquote official dental insurance. I understand there are people that are hurting. It's like they got a system set up. Oh yeah, so drug stocks are taking a dump because of Trump is allegedly going to go after them. So people are fleeing the drug stocks, and it's like, oh, Trump's going after the drug companies. Trump's going to end Obamacare. So what's going to come? What's going to come and replace that? And not everyone has said positive things about Obamacare. I think others, though, it may have benefited some or was about to benefit some. Or some people that just went on disability, or some people are 65 years old and they just got diagnosed with cancer. and they're already homeless, and they're looking forward to maybe some benefits to where they're not homeless. So a lot of people don't know what to expect. A lot of people don't know, but all I have to say is a government that doesn't care about the lives of other people, that'll drone strike them back to the Stone Age. They're not really going to have your best health care. I mean, sure, they can go ahead and say like you have all this health care, and they can give you something that'll kill you because they've been treating you like a guinea pig. Now, on the topic of guinea pigs, probably one of the most important reports that we can cover tonight from physics.org. Scientists switch on predatory kill instinct in mice, and there's been a lot of stories that I've seen like this over the years regarding doing studies on mice, mind control studies. And so when you look at humans doing this to mice, what type of things can be done to us, and what type of studies are being done to human beings from forces that we don't understand as we live in our own petri dish, if you will, our own little controlled reality. You think the mice that are being experimented on know the nature of the human being and what we eat and what we look at on the internet and what motivates us, and whether we're God or whether we're fallen gods or whether we're just humans, or well, what is a human? What is English? And what is the thinking process with the mice? It's obviously not in a thinking process that understands the state of the human being doing the experiments on them. Do we truly then understand the state of consciousness of that which may be attempting to redirect the destiny of the human species? Researchers at Yale University have isolated the brain circuitry that coordinates predatory hunting, according to a study in the January 12th issue of Cell. One set of neurons in the amygdala, of the brain center of emotion and motivation, cues the animal to pursue prey. Another set signals the animal to use its jaw and neck muscles to bite and kill. So, what is that, another 28 days later? Zombie apocalypse film? The researchers used optogenetics, a means of engineering specific neurons to fire upon light stimulation, to isolate and selectively activate each set of neurons. When the laser is off, the animal behaves normally. But turn the laser on, and the mice takes on qualities of walkers from The Walking Dead, pursuing and biting almost anything in their path, including bottle caps and wood sticks. We turn on the laser, according to a scientist involved here, and they jump on the object, hold it with their paws, and bite it as if they're trying to capture it and kill it. The Walking Dead analogy, or zombie apocalypse, or zombies, is fair only to a certain extent. In nature, predatory animals takes the form of a highly complex behaviors that are common to most jawed vertebrates, including humans. It is a major evolutionary player in shaping the brain. There must be some primordial cortical pathway that connects sensory input to the movement of the jaw and the biting. The animals did not, however, attack other mice in the cage. Hunger also affected predatory behavior. Hungry mice more aggressively pursued during light stimulation than mice that were not hungry. And there are other studies as well that have been done on mice and emotion. So we're already somewhat primitive as it is with our understanding of technology, yet mankind has seemingly achieved the unachievable, controlling the behavior of mice and other animals in a lab, cloning, other things. Some people talk about chimeras and the mixing of human genes and non-human genes. But what they do is they get people distracted. They go, hey, fake Islamic invasion over here, multiculturalism. What they really should be multiracial is what they're opposed to. Multicultural would be like value systems from both coming into one. And it's like there's a difference between someone being multiracial, which is really an illusion in of itself. Some of these ideas of race, I happen to believe. It's the fallacy. It's the perceived differences. And that's the sickness. I mean, that is leading us into the way, as we close here, for World War III. The type of steps that Donald Trump is going to take, other Americans are going to take, congressmen are going to take, people in his cabinet, what they're going to do. Are they going to, just go kill a million people in Iran, push a button, turn the whole world against America? Or will it be the death camps and the depopulation agenda in Syria and Afghanistan and other countries, as maybe Trump listens to some of his supporters and literally just nukes them all, drops a nuke, and just be done with it? As he says, well, we got nukes, we might as well use it. Or use them and develop new nukes. What does he mean by that? Only time will tell. I want to say thank you to those that have pledged on Patreon. A couple dollars a week, even something as simple as that, does mean all the difference in the world. As I said, my generator is down, so the amount of videos I'll be uploading will be greatly reduced for this time period. Boy, I have my fingers crossed that I'm not going to be snowed in all the way up until June or so, but I've heard that this level of elevation in the mountains, there's definitely a fair amount of snow that will be hanging around or coming around as late as the summer. I'm looking forward to saving, continue to save. Why not spend a whole lot of money? Hopefully I'll find a car and I'll be able to get off this hill and start doing other things. Of course, I will continue to bring content to this YouTube channel. Of course, there's going to be periods like now to where, with generators failing, as a new storm comes in, it's not feasible for me to be doing a lot of video uploads. So I will do what I can. And this now concludes the January 13th, 2017 edition of the Alex Ansary Daily Matrix Nightly Newscast. Thank you for listening. Thank you for sharing this on your Twitter page, on your Facebook page, or, of course, helping the broadcast in some other way, shape, or form. We'll talk to you next time.